Welcome to Doing It My Way by Beata Matras, a podcast about project and product management, communication, brand, and IT. All these topics will definitely improve and have a positive impact on your career. So join me today, subscribe, and expect a new episode every week. Thank you. Today, my guest is Katarzyna Jurczak. She is experienced product manager and IT leader with more than 12 years in product and people management. Katarzyna has a wealth of experience in developing digital products and managing agile transformations. Today, we are going to discuss burnout from the perspective of a product manager and how effectively navigate this challenge. Welcome, Katarzyna. I'm really glad to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me. That's a great pleasure.
So, Katarzyna, to kick off, we actually maybe I'll tell a story first how we've met, because we've met on a workshop that you had with Magda Rabiej on burnout, and it was organized by Women in Technology community, as far as I remember, and that's why we are here today to discuss this important topic. But before we dive into the topic of burnout, maybe you can take our listeners through your career path, especially focusing on your experiences in product management.
So I'm laughing that I was a product manager long before it was popular, because I was, as you said, I have like around 20 years experience, and around 2008 I was a product manager in Onet. But it was somehow similar to what we have today, but the job market was very different. And actually, it wasn't a popular position back then. And I decided to join IT because I thought that I can utilize my strengths, special organizational skills in a better way, being project manager. And I was lucky because I had an opportunity to change the division, but to stay at the same domain, because I was working as a product manager on ad servers, special servers that are serving ads. And I became a project manager, and I used to work with a team responsible for ad servers. So that was very comfortable for me back then. And then and it was also the time when agile became more and more popular. So all this switch from traditional waterfall projects to agile projects happened. And I've learned a lot about building teams and building trust and all this agile product management, all this incremental product management, short feedback loop, that kind of things. Then I joined Sabre I always wanted to work in a large organization to see how it looks like. And I was also Scrum Master there, and then engineering manager. And this engineering manager experience is really important for me, because not only it gives you the human being a different kind of experience, but it also helps you to understand how the large organization, not only large, just every single organization is working from inside. So you may observe how all these HR processes are organized from a different dimension, and it helps also in leading your own career. And then I switched back to product management from various reasons, and now I'm a product manager again at Aptio, which is the company that is operating in FinOps industry.
Okay, so we are in similar industries, because I'm also in fintech, also product manager. Right now I'm digital product owner from few days. So this is a slight change in a title, in a kind of also the area of the product, but sometimes we need change. And talking about change, we can move to the topic of your personal experiences with burnout, because that's a huge change.
Yeah.
Um, and how this topic leads us to our discussion today.
Okay, so I think that maybe I'll share my story briefly again. So I'll start from an end, or from the middle. So I realized that I cannot ignore the symptoms anymore. One day, it was Saturday morning. I was with my family on some, weekend in the Polish mountains, in Pieniny Mountains. Beautiful area, beautiful sunny day, and my family super active, trying to figure out what we are going to do. Maybe we go to the mountains, maybe we go to the lake. Tons of attractions. And I actually heard myself saying that I want to stay in the room and I want to just look at the wall in front of me. And it was the moment that I was frightened, because I realized that if I didn't do something now, it would be too late. And actually, it started a couple of months before, but I ignored the symptoms. My family, my friends, my colleagues, my coworkers, they kept saying me that it doesn't look good. My behavior, my mood, like I was, that's funny. That's not funny. Of course, that's not funny. I was crying before work. But then when I joined the first meeting, like daily or something with my team, and I used to work with amazing people, really, really exceptional teams, and I still miss them. I was smiling, and it wasn't. I didn't have to force myself to smile. I just smiled because I liked them very much. But they're telling me that I behaved like a zombie. When I was finishing work, I was just changing the place I spend my time I spend my time either in front of computer or in front of TV set, and so on and so forth. So I was how to say, it was more and more difficult for me to find joy in life, to be active, to think about anything else than work. And it was more and more difficult for me to solve the simplest problem, to make decisions. Not to mention being creative, because that was gone long before. So I think that I started to have depression. It wasn't the clinical depression, but I think that if I didn't do something back then, it would end up this way. So I decided, the first thing I did, well, I also had a chance a year before to visit a chance, that also sounds weird, to visit one of my friends who spent 3 months in the hospital because he had such a deep episode of depression that he needed to be in the hospital for 3 months. And that was terrible experience for him. And it was also terrible, for me, as I was just visiting this person, and then back then in this Saturday morning in the mountains, I thought that if I didn't do something, I will end up in this hospital, and that was frightening. So I called the doctor. I started to take pills. Of course, I enrolled to psychotherapy because the pills can only help you to overcome this physiological aspects of your brain functions, but the root causes are somewhere else, and you have to go to the therapy to figure it out and to fix it. And of course, I decided to take a break at work, like 2 or 3 months break, because I really couldn't work anymore.
how did
And
it feel? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you said you loved your team, you loved like working with them, and like, giving up one of the things that you really pressure, like that are precious to you, must be like super difficult.
oh no, it wasn't. The most difficult part was to admit that something is wrong. The most difficult is to stop denying. But when you admit that something is wrong, and you cannot deny it anymore when you want to spend the entire day in the room, so it's, you don't need anything more significant, then you know that it's the last call for you to save yourself. And it's like, I'm always saying this, there's this, when you're on the plane and the stewards are showing the safety instructions, they're always telling that if you're traveling with a kid and something bad happens, you have to put the oxygen mask, uh, first of all, on you, and then on the kid, on the child, because you can't support your beloved ones. You can be a good a partner, a good mother, if you don't save yourself. So it's nothing egoistic in that. But answering your question, this was the moment when I knew that it's not my dream job. I thought that for a very long time. So I will share what happened before. So I wanted to switch back to product management, and I had this work that the organization in this company was a little bit weird, so they're not doing this anymore. But back then they had an idea to combine these two roles, to have engineering manager and to have it was called people manager, but it's more like engineering manager, and product manager, and having one person doing all this job, all these responsibilities. And it didn't work. And it didn't work not only, and it didn't work if you had 10 direct reports, 10 people reporting to you. And I found myself in some particular moment in the situation when I had more than 20 people reporting to me. It was because someone decided to quit, and we needed to find someone else. We immediately started to search for, but it takes time. And I had this, don't do it. I had this one-man army syndrome. So this kind of, okay, it looks like we have a kind of a crisis situation here. So look at me. I will deal with it, right? I can handle that. I can handle 25 people, 4 teams, 3 platforms, people management, product management, project management, because I needed also to coordinate this all. And yeah, that was very brave and very stupid.
I know. I mean, I have similar experiences with one-man army or superhero. So
I think it's that was one thing. And there are three. When it comes to burnout, because I had 3 months. I was on a therapy, and I started to listen and to read about burnout. I started to read about stress. So that's why, and then I decided that I would like to share it. I also decided that I would like to share it because the feedback I had from my friends was always that I'm super optimistic, full of energy, and I thought that it's very important to show that it can happen to everyone. You don't have to be an introverted person. You don't have to be the quietest one to hit the wall and to to start to feel extremely depressed. So there are intrinsic and extrinsic reasons behind burnout. And out of this external, the organizational, there are 3. And this is excessive workload. So that was my case. I had 27 hours of meetings in a week. And every single meeting was about something. Nothing 3 hours status call when you have to just say on track when you hear your name. But it was really about It was really about something, every single one. And every single one was from different areas like recruitment, performance review, strategic, I don't know, road mapping, strategy for a product, presentation, tons of various things. And context switching is also very energy consuming. So I was constantly switching context, and you can't really combine these two roles. You can't be people manager and product manager because this is a completely different way of thinking. If you are a people manager, you're very much focused on urgent task on a daily basis, and product management requires a bit of space for analytics, for research. The creativity needs time. And you can't having 1 hour break between recruitment and whatever, one-on-one or planning meeting or retro or something like that. And when you have this 1 hour break, you can't switch to strategic thinking about the future of the product. It's not going to work this way. So this excessive workload was one thing in my case. The second is lack of control and unrealistic goals. And this was also the reason behind. So unrealistic goals, I had revenue goals that were unrealistic. And I didn't commit to these goals. They were just given to me. And lack of control because the roadmap changed. Of course, you always have someone above your position in the organization, and the other people were making decisions. But to also mention something else, there are also internal reasons, and like for example, personal traits, like your personality, and the one of the most important is perfectionism. So even if you are not a perfectionist, gosh, it doesn't mean you don't want to be. So I was so overloaded that I was actually aware that I'm not doing any of these responsibilities. I am not fulfilling any of this role in a way I would like to, in a way I would expect from myself. So I wasn't either a good recruiter or a people manager or a product manager, whatever. I was constantly unsatisfied with the level of my work. Maybe it was only my opinion. Maybe it wasn't even very much the opinion of my coworkers. But I knew that it's far away from my standards, and I will never achieve my standards because there are just too many items, too many things to handle. And last but not least, it was pandemic. It was somewhere around pandemic. And it also didn't help because I was working remotely. And before the pandemic, especially if you have family, if you have children, before pandemic, you could easily split the roles. You were a mother at home, or a partner or a parent at home. Let's say, be more generic. So you are a partner at home, then you go to work. At work, you are manager, product manager, an employee. Then you go back home and you're again a parent. And during the pandemic, you needed to fulfill all this role simultaneously. And I was sitting on a meeting and I was reading on my cell phone the message from one of the mothers of my son school colleagues, that a teacher is calling my son's name, but apparently he didn't join the classes. So I had to say, well, I'm sorry, I just need to check up on my kid. So I went to another room, and yeah, he didn't join. He was just engaged in something more interesting for him than joining the classes. Like it was just a totally common experience of all the parents during the pandemic, that the children didn't pay attention to the online classes, and then you have to think about a lunch. Then you have to think about it. Then you have this kid who would like to spend a little bit more time with you because he's feeling lonely, but you don't have time because you have to go back to work. So that was also very demanding. So that was the common experience in pandemic. And when I called psychiatrist, she told me that, oh gosh, like 50% of my patients is sharing exactly the same problems. The pandemic was, of course, a terrible experience for the majority of us, but at the same time, it led to, it opened the discussion about the mental health. So this is the thing that is a good outcome of the pandemic. We started to talk about it. We started to talk that this is important, and we are not made of stone, that we have to also take care about mental health.
Yeah, and I think it also finally gave us a moment to stop for a while and just stop and realize like, oh, oops, something. I think something is not right. I'm not going in a direction I would like to go, or I'm not in a place that I would like to be. So I need to change something. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And we also started to talk about the children and their mental health, because it also reflected very strongly the situation we have in this area. I mean, in all this area of medical care for children. Mm, yeah. So that was my case. To summarize, excessive workload, lack of control, unrealistic goals, me having one man army syndrome, me being actually afraid of being judged and not fulfill my own standards, and pandemic. So I think these three aspects combined together.
I think it's common that it's not only one cause. It's like a mixture of these different circumstances, like combining together, and then we are in a situation where we can experience difficulties like difficulties with mental health. Because I don't want to say like right now about depression, burnout, but all these difficulties, these mental difficulties come up when when there's probably too many things on your plate, and at some point you just you just start realizing that. um, and if we are talking about why we are talking about the burnout today, what are actually the major consequences of burnout in professional context?
So I think that there are a lot of articles and a lot of books and podcasts about burnout. So if anyone is interested, I would strongly recommend, because I don't think we can cover this during this podcast, but I would point out to one very important, if we are talking about professional context, which is the influence on cognitive skills. Because it's also something that I observed after 2 weeks of being on a sick leave, or after I stopped working. I needed 2 weeks to get my brain back to connecting the dots, because it was I haven't realized that. So the thing is that I'm laughing that the thing with burnout is similar to any other experience. For example, when you start drinking alcohol, I think we have in this country we have this experience. You don't know what are your limits, and you have to figure it out, sometimes very quickly, and then you know when you should stop. And when you're facing burnout for the first time, you don't know where are your limits. You are not able to recognize the symptoms early enough to do something. So one of the symptom is the we are just getting more stupid. That's the fact. And our cognitive skills are getting worse and worse. We have difficulties in making the simplest decision. I also observed that was actually good that we were working online back then, because I was very angry at my coworkers. They asked me about something on Slack, and I overreacted. I was like, "Oh, what else?" And if you start to behave this way, it means that something is wrong. People are just asking for help. You are here to help them. But when you're overloaded, yet another request is making you angry. But the most important is that you stop thinking, you stop being creative, you stop being the problem solver. And that's the reason behind is that when you're facing the chronic stress, the cortisol in your body is causing, like, as a long term, it's not like, after a week, after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, your hippocampus is shrinking and your frontal cortex is shrinking. And these two parts of your brain are responsible for the memory and for analytical skills. So I haven't noticed that because it's not like you wake up one day and you cannot solve the problem anymore. It's, of course, it's like, baby steps. You can't catch the moment. So that's the most important. And then you think that you stop. You have this feeling of maybe that was all. I think that was also my case. How to say that precisely? It is called like experience of inefficacy. You stop thinking that you're doing your job well. So even if you think about changing the job, even if you feel that this particular organization is not the right place for you, it's very hard for you to do so. Because it's very hard to accomplish the recruitment process when your cognitive skills are the lowest, or when you are constantly unsatisfied of the level of your work. So that's the thing. That's the effect on professional aspect of burnout. And also, and it's not only about product management or any other IT profession, but it's all about everyone facing burnout. It's the kind of emotional exhaustion. That's what I said at the beginning. I was like zombie. I had no joy. And this kind of depersonalization. So you don't like people you work with anymore. That wasn't my case, maybe, because these people were really exceptional. But I think that in my case, I was just angry at them when they asked me about something. So these are the personalization. Maybe it's more about these professions that are related to working with customers. When you're a doctor and when you're a nurse or a social worker, and your clients, let's say, are people you are supposed to help, but your work is based on meeting 20 people you're supposed to help on a daily basis, then you stop treating them as human beings. So that's about the personalization.
Yeah, and it probably makes you very difficult to collaborate with because you're constantly overreacting. And on the other hand, you also start being just not respectful to people because they are like making you angry. They don't know what is going on, so it's also like difficult probably to collaborate with the people you liked in the past.
That's why I said that the good thing was that I was working online because you may be angry, but you are not expressing this on Slack, right? So if I were at the office, it would be much harder for me to hide this.
Definitely. And product management is in nature like collaborating with people, also like having this a time to think about the strategy. But let's be honest, usually in product management you are one man army. So do you think like in this field particularly we are like exposed or predetermined to burnout?
All the researchers about the burnout are pointing out completely different professions. They're saying about, as I said, medical service, uniformed services, social workers, teachers, all these professions where you have to I have it noted somewhere here. When you have to deal every single day with a lot of people you're supposed to help, but they are suffering. They have very demanding attitude. Sometimes they have some addictions. They live in poverty. So they are not. They are, I would say, difficult to collaborate with. And a lot of these professions are also underpaid. So you're also struggling with the stress in your personal life that is causing by lack of resources. So I want to say that we in corporations and in IT industry, we're kind of in a sweet spot. And in my case, when we were talking about burnout, I think it wasn't a burnout. Maybe it was more like exploitation. Because I think that, if you're facing burnout and you work as a product manager or engineering manager, or the managers are also at risk of burnout because they have to deal with requirements and duties from above, and also they're responsible for people. So that's another dimension. But we can always change the job. Of course, that's not easy when you're already on your lowest. On your lowest capabilities when it comes to the cognitive skills. But all these professions I mentioned before, the reason is in the nature of the profession itself. So the doctor might change the hospital or the nurse may change the hospital, but the nature of the profession will be the same. In my case, it was, and in a lot of the cases, very often the reasons are in the particular organization or in this particular manager you're working with or in this particular project, and combined with your personality. So you can do something about your personality. You can start to think why I am so much driven by my achievements, by my career goals. What's behind it? And if you think that it's the reason behind the burnout is in the organization, you can think about changing the organization into the. And this is also something I'd like to ask people who listen this, that just not to give too many chances to the organization you work. If you think that something is getting wrong, and if you think that this company is not treating you fair, you're overloaded, you see that you're moving towards the burnout. Especially women, we have tendency to give another chance and another chance, and maybe something will change. Next year, maybe something will change when I change the manager. When maybe something will change when I will be promoted. I wouldn't say that it's a good strategy. Just give one chance and then start to think about changing the company if you can.
It's similar to being actually in a toxic relationship. Yeah, you are giving the chances because you remember like the sweet beginnings, and we as women have a tendency to actually like sacrifice ourselves and give too many chances to people or to places that are just draining us, yeah, that are taking more than giving.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a matter of what are the expectations towards women from the society. I think it is changing. So we start talking about it. So that's very important. But when it comes to your employer, it's mutual agreement. You're giving something, right? You're giving your time, your experience, your engagement. They're giving you also something, not only salary. They're giving you the opportunities to grow, and to get more experience and some kind of maybe atmosphere, whatever. But if you treat your employer fair, you should expect being treated the same way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? So you should go somewhere else. And I think that once again, I will compare our situation to the other professions. Uh, it is much easier for us to change the job. We can work remotely. We can, even in Krakow or in Warsaw, we have a lot of companies we can work. Sometimes it's maybe even worth to take a step back, to take a little bit the position that is a little bit lower in the hierarchy, that is maybe a little less paid, but just that something which help you to take a breath.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the ideas to actually manage difficult time. And yeah, how do you like balance the demands of your role as a product manager and personal well-being right now after experiencing burnout?
I just know that it's not worth it. I started to respect my mind, because my mind very very in a very direct way told me that it's not made of stone, so it can be broken. So I listen to myself and I observe the symptoms and I react. And I know that I have some methods of dealing with stress. I build resilience. I use time to recover, to get some rest, and most of all, um, that was whoa, that was a very difficult experience in my life, but at the same time, one of the most important, because it actually forced me to stop and to think and to rethink, what the hell am I doing and why? What is what motivates me? What's behind this voice telling me move forward, move forward, move forward? And now I know it's no longer my fuel. So I just changed. And I don't know how to. The most difficult in sharing that such experience is that it didn't work in my case. So I, before my burnout, I read all these articles about women wanted to be perfect in every single area of life, like being a perfect partner, being a perfect, having a perfect body, being a perfect employee, sorry, sometimes employer, being a perfect mother, and so on and so forth. And I was reading these articles and I was like, oh, it's so stupid. You can't have it all. But the fun fact was that it was only here. So it stopped on the in the brain, but it never went to the emotions level. So I was reading this, I was agreeing with the concept that you can't have it all, but I was acting in completely different way. If I'm to share a little bit of advice, respect your mind, respect your mind, and listen to your body, and listen to your family and friends. If they're telling you that something is wrong, just believe them. Stop denying. That's all. And if you see that you're more and more nervous, you're having difficulties in making decisions, you're not being focused. Like, for example, it's a matter of security. Like, I had one situation in my life, long time before the burnout, when I had too many things on my plate, and I was riding a bike. I was commuting on a bike to work, and I fall down because I didn't think about me riding a bike, doing some maneuvers, being a part of a traffic, but I was thinking about what I have to do today, what I need to solve, what I have to order, what I have to return, that kind of stuff. And I fell down. It looked seriously. It wasn't, luckily. Uh, but it was a great example of, if you're not focused on what you're doing, and if you're driving your car, it's just dangerous. That's something that is also important, because you just, when you're not paying attention, it can have really bad results. Do you have a driving license? Do you drive?
Yeah, I do have. I do have. And I also have a bike.
You also have a bike. Uh, have you ever observed that you didn't pay attention?
Yes, especially when I was like leaving the garage last time, and the only thing that let me know that I'm doing something wrong was that I hit the wall. And I was like, what am I doing? Because I was so tired, in the
Yeah,
evening.
yeah.
It was like, how is that
Okay, and
possible? I do it like every day. And this, like today, it was just too much. And I scratched my car again. And I was like,
not that bad. It was only a car and it was only a wall. But what
yeah.
happened? What could have happened if it was on the street, right, with human beings or other cars? So that's about cognitive skills. That's about paying attention. That's about the level of energy. That's about being focused.
But how do you think like personal, social, organizational expectations contribute to burnout? We mentioned that about expectations to women, expectations from our organizations sometimes. Yeah, can we come back to that topic?
I think I am a millennial, and I really count on the Z generation, because they have a little bit different attitude, and I think we can learn from them. Because I'm from this culture of hard working, and I started my professional career a long time ago, when having full time contract was a dream. So the market was really really difficult, and we had this. I mean, my generation, we had this opinion about work, that we have to work hard. And when your manager is asking you to do something, to take more duties, you cannot refuse, because maybe you won't get another chance. You are here to fulfill like 100% of, or 150% of what is expected from you. And this is my I think this is experience of my generation and the generations one generation before, I think, like also my parents, or everyone who started to work or used to work in 90s. That's not my case, but I think that people who are 15, 20 years older than me, they have also this attitude to work. And there is this discussion, like the father of this rapper Mata, who said that he tended to work hard without being paid, and he's proud of it. So that's why I said I think that the next generation is the generation that is currently entering the job market. They are no longer that kind of people.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see also, father of Mata, he's talking like, yeah, he worked hard. He probably provided, a lot to his son, and thanks to that, he also like had a chance to maybe become right now a famous uh, rapper. Yeah, we call them rappers. But on the other hand, Mata is doing much more money, if we think about success, than his father, just by doing something he loves. Yeah, he's an artist.
I think, it's a lot of young people, they would like to be YouTubers and they would like to be influencers nowadays. And I think it's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's like, when my parents, or maybe not my parents, but when you, if you were born like in 50s and you told your parents that you're going to be a singer or an actor, I think that the reaction would be the same. Just get the real job, be an engineer, right? Or go to the factory. And nowadays it's the same. The teenager is telling you, I want to be a YouTuber, and you're saying, get the real job. And I think it's nothing wrong in being a YouTuber if you have a valuable content to share. But that's the topic for a completely different discussion.
And valuable means something different for each generation, each person. Yeah, so it's also like you can always find your niche.
And that's hard job also, like every single work that is, when your success is very much dependent on the opinion of the audience. Like being an actor, or being a singer, or being a YouTuber, it depends a lot on people, if they click, if they follow. So I don't think that's something easy from the emotional point of view, something easy to handle.
What can we do actually? What are the strategies to manage expectations of society, of our employer, on our personal expectations, to not let them contribute to burnout? Do you have any of those?
One of many reasons behind the burnout, there are also the expectations, not only at work but also in your personal life. So if you have demanding work and at the same time you have family, you have children, or you are supposed to take care about some of your family members, like, I don't know, older parents, or you have someone who is, for example, who is sick in your family, and you have to take care of this person. That is also taking your time, taking your energy, and not giving you enough time to get some rest and to balance. So I'm always saying this to, and this is actually from Sheryl Sandberg. It's about the real partnership. If you start a family and you're having a partner and you don't have children, then it's easy to deal with chores. And we have women, especially, we have the tendency to take everything on our shoulders. And then when the children appear on the picture, it occurs that one person is not able to handle that. And so real partnership is about having the partner that is supporting you, and having the partner when you share the duties equally. But equally doesn't mean 50-50 all the time. It means, okay, so if you're now having the demanding moment at your career, you're having postgraduate studies or some certification process, I am taking more. I am helping, or I'm giving more to the family, and you have time to develop your career, and the other way around. So real partnership. And from the work perspective, set the boundaries. That's all. Just it's another. I think I don't know if we have time to talk about being assertive. But this is very important. And it's difficult only for the very first time. When you start being assertive and you see that nothing but happened, and the world is not collapsed because you said no, then it's easier next time, and next time be assertive. And it's about putting yourself on the first place. Not because you're egoistic. Yet again, I will refer to women. We are supposed to be helpful. We are supposed to devote ourselves for others. But you can't support your family if you are under the water, if you don't care about yourself. So that's all. That's about building resiliency. And I know that we have somewhere in this discussion, we have question about the strategies, how to deal with stress, how to deal with such situations. And one of the most important and very often also mentioned thing is resiliency. So the resiliency is an ability to recover after difficult situation. And it's about, I'm prepared, it's about the batteries, right? So I think that this metaphor is the best one. So if your batteries are green and something bad happens, like it can be the unexpected, it can be a car accident, it can be illness, it can be the layoff. You can, for example, lose your job or that kind of stuff. Some kind of a crisis in your life, deeper or more or less significant or more or less serious, but any kind of a crisis. And if your batteries are green and you're facing this crisis, they go yellow. But if they're already yellow or orange and you're facing crisis, they go red. So the resilience is about building a kind of recharging your batteries every single time you have you can. It's about taking care about this process. So if you plan to get some rest, to go to the mountains, if that helps, or to go to the spa, or just read a book on Sunday because you feel that you're tired, and you planned to do it because you want to recharge your batteries, and someone is asking you to do the favor, and it's not life-changing favor, you should think about your batteries in long-term perspective. Once again, the most difficult for us women is to stop thinking that this is egoism. It's not. It's like the finance management. If you only earn enough money, you never spend as much as you earn. You have always something saved for rainy days, right? So why don't we manage our energy, our emotions in the same way? Why don't we respect our need to get some rest and recharge batteries? We should think about our emotion, our energy, our inner energy as about the finance. You have to have some savings.
I think, about savings. This is also like a kind of tricky topic because I think, yeah, women are very often good at managing finances, and we are taking care of our families, finances. But yeah, at the end, it all depends on our kind of health. Yeah, definitely health, and also ability to take care of yourself. Yeah, you are as good in taking care of this all things around if you first take care of yourself. But we're not learned that. I mean, from the childhood, you're like, you always have to be supportive, you cannot say no, you need to be kind, you need to be nice, gentle. And with this kind of messages coming to you all the time, you realize, like, if you're egoistic because you need rest, you start feeling like you did something wrong.
The good thing about getting older, and I hope that more and more women will come to this conclusion earlier than it used to be before, is that you don't care anymore. And I remember my mother, she used to buy, in 90s, there is this magazine Twój Styl in Poland. And I was reading, I remember I was like, I was a teenager, and I read an article about some actress actually. And she said that when she turned 60, she she became super happy because she stopped trying to get some standards, to achieve some standards. She stopped trying to be sexually attractive. She stopped trying to be, I don't know, to be fit, to be nice. She started to speak her own voice. And she was 60. And I was reading this as a teenager, and I thought, oh my God, it's so late. How is it, how is it even possible? And there is something in it. But I hope that I'm it's not I hope. I think it happens, and it happens among my friends, and we are much younger than 60, that we just don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't care about what people think. And it's sometimes the therapy help. Sometimes you just have to be at some age, and it happens just like that. And at the end, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think about you. It's your life and your relationship with your husband in your free time, your kid. Um, and and I have a lot of friends who are over 40, and they say, the fun fact is, they say, I wouldn't like to be 25 again. They don't think about this period of their life as something great. Okay, they were younger, they were prettier, they were probably slimmer, but we tend to worry about a lot of things that didn't matter.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice for all professionals or women, and that also might want to reduce the risk of experiencing burnout. Uh, and stopping at that topic, or like continuing, do you have any tips that you would give to?
Yeah, I have one. And
Yeah.
I have one friend. She's very smart person, and she is making that kind of exercise. She is figuring out, from time to time. It's not one time activity. What makes her happy? What is the happy version of herself? And she's figuring out this happy version of herself. If the happy version of myself is being a director, or if the happy version of myself is being 3 times in a month in the mountains, or whatever, right? Or having 3 great dinners with my husband every single month. So she's having the happy version of the picture of happy version of herself. And when she's about to make the decision about spending her time on this and this or that, she's asking herself, is this kind of activity making me closer to this happy version of myself or not? And if it's not, she just doesn't do it. She doesn't take this job. She doesn't take this task, or she doesn't go to visit family members if she doesn't want to. Just because it's not making her any closer to the happy version of herself. And it's not. And she also told me that from time to time she's reviewing this, because it's the being a happy version of herself when you're 30 and you have little kids, it's something different when you are 20, or something different when you're 40, something different when you want to put a little bit more attention on your career, or in your finance security, or whatever is a certain moment in your life. It's different version of happiness. So you just have to decide what is the happy version of yourself at a given moment, and do the things that are making you, that are getting, that which are helping you to to be closer to this version. Simple as that.
Yeah, it seems very simple, but you need to actually like sit for a moment, write a version of your being happy, which is not always easy to answer that question, and then start implementing that in life, which is again, it will definitely change something.
And we go back to the discussion about being assertive.
Yeah, definitely. That can be actually the next topic that we could cover together if you would be interested. But like wrapping up a little bit of our conversation because we are speaking for more than an hour already.
Okay, I want to say something important. I just brought this book with me. So this is the book that I would like to recommend to everyone. Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. This is the English title, but you don't have to read this book. It's rather, it's full of difficult words like glucocorticoids and that kind of stuff. But there is a lecture of Robert Sapolsky, who is the professor of neurology and biology from Stanford University. So there is a full, like 1 hour something lecture on YouTube about why zebras don't get ulcers. And it's about all the psychophysiology of stress. And why I'm mentioning this, because I was facing, we're all facing the stress in life. So I was always laughing when for example, you went to the doctor and the doctor told you less stress. Stress is nothing you can have less in your life, but you can manage your response to stress. And I'm a person who would like to understand. So I never was. I never tended to listen to the advice, to the pieces of advice like take a deep breath, get some rest, go to the forest, hug the tree, that kind of stuff, because I didn't understand what's behind it. What are the mechanisms that are causing that this particular technique is working? And in this book, you have it all. You have everything explained, like everything about this flight or fight reaction of our body, that we react this way to stress. Everything about sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, which are actually the sympathetic is designed to help us to run away when we are facing danger. And unfortunately, nowadays, it's being turned on when we're facing stress. And we don't have to run away because we're sitting in front of computer. So, and this is a book that will fully explain why building resilience is so important. The thing is that our body was built to live in some kind of a jungle, right? So the evolution is slower than the environmental changes. And every single time, it's about, the book is about zebras. So, but let's say that our bodies are somehow similar. So every single time the zebra is seeing the lion, zebra, it should be it, probably. But this animal should escape. And the body is telling the animal, is preparing all this reaction of the body, are preparing the animal to a very quick, very fast run. So the heart rate is getting higher. The blood pressure is getting higher. We stop digesting because it's not the most important. We stop thinking about reproduction because this is not the most important. We have to run away from the biggest danger, from the lion. And once the zebra is finally successfully, once the race or the escape from the danger is finally successfully finished for zebra, the stress is over, because all this reaction, flight or fight, was just to give the body the power, to give the body the energy to run super fast to escape from the lion. And all these processes are stopped, and all these neurotransmitters and other products of this reaction are already metabolized. But what happens to us on a daily basis is that we don't do it. We don't run away. We sit in front of our computer and we see these lions. We see the email from the manager. We are afraid of losing our job. We pick up the phone, and because they're calling from our children's school, or something happens with, I don't know, mother-in-law, whatever. We have a lot of stress in the life. But we don't run away. We don't. We do nothing with all this power that our body is producing. And in the long term, being on this a little bit higher level of stress, being under this chronic stress, it leads us to the situation when when our body is actually exhausted. So, because our body is constantly focused on running away from the lion, we don't have time to rest. We don't have time to produce. We don't have time to take care about, for example, immune system. And you can notice that it's much easier to get some infections when you're stressed out for a longer time. It's much easier to suffer, to get ulcers. Your stomach doesn't know whether to digest or not to digest. If you're running away from lion and we stop digesting because that's not the most important, or we can digest, right? Because you just provided some food. So one of the simplest idea how to deal with that is just to start to learn yourself how to turn off this sympathetic system. The second one is called parasympathetic, and the second one is responsible for turning off this reaction, for being relaxed, for starting to recover. And it is about breath, for example. It's about meditation. So when you inhale, it should be shorter than when you exhale, because when you exhale, then you turn on the parasympathetic system. It's not without the reason why people are, when people are facing some stressful situation and the other people around are telling them, okay, take a couple of deep breaths, right? So it's not without the reason. So when you're facing some stressful situation, think about breath, think about relaxation, because it's not about the mind, it's about very specific reactions that happens in your body. And last but not least, physical activities, because it really it produces endorphins, it produces dopamines, and it just helps us to get rid of all this cortisol and just to lower the level of cortisol and so on. So the physical activities, this is something very, very important. We think that we are active because we visit gym 3 times a week. But if you think about your daily basis, you're sitting 8 hours a day. We really, in nowadays, especially when we are working remotely and we don't even have to commute to the office, we really, the level of our physical activity is really minimal.
Yeah, totally agree. How we exercise, how we breathe, what we eat, it has a huge impact on our mental health. Yet we don't. How we sleep. This is also like another fundamental.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just think like, oh, these are just just simple stuff like the basics. That no, these are not important, because there is always like something more important, like working, for example, or doing something for someone, or and relaxing yourself with a glass of wine.
Yes, speaking of sleeping, thank you for mentioning that. This is also something that we should pay attention to. So if something if you're starting to have difficulties with falling asleep, or you wake up very early, like 4 a.m., and you cannot fall asleep again because you're lying and you're thinking, that is also something that should encourage you to take a closer look at the situation.
Okay, Kasia, 2 last questions. For our listeners who might be facing burnout or might be close to burnout, what key advice would you offer based on your experiences?
Listen to your friends and family. Do not deny what they're saying. Do not underestimate their judgment. And search for professional help. If you need therapy, go for therapy. Sometimes it doesn't have to be, because a lot of people are afraid afraid of therapy because they are afraid that it's a very long time commitment. No, it's not. Sometimes it may be a couple of meetings with a specialist, but it's always worth it. I think this is the most important.
Yeah.
This is, and don't wait too long to react. This, yet again, if people around you are telling you that something is getting wrong and you keep saying that it's just this particular situation, this project, this quarter, that's okay. But if this project or this quarter is finished and nothing changes, then it's not okay. So take care about yourself, because, as I said, if you are the best, like there is this, the girls are telling this all the time, like if you have some problems, think about yourself as your best friend. What would you tell your best friend if she comes to you with such problems? So treat yourself as your best friends.
Which is not always easy. But yeah, that's very important. That's very simple. Yeah, we should treat ourselves as best friends. Yeah, as our best friends, our best precious person being. Yeah, the favorite person in the world.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you are the person you spend the most time with.
And the last question for our listeners interested in your insights or seeking guidance or just wanting to connect with you, where they can find you online.
I think on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. So yeah, I add this to the episode description. I add the link to your LinkedIn. So in case people are interested in connecting with you or hearing more stories from you, more personal stories, more advices, yeah, they will be able to reach out to you. And Kasia, I wanted to thank you very much for being my guest and sharing your story, sharing your experience. I know it's not always easy. And I wanted to say that, yeah, I admire you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on another episode of Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe. Remember, this podcast is a dynamic journey and your feedback is very welcomed. Connect with me on social media. I would like to hear your thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And until next time, keep doing it your way.